All men are created equal and with certain unalienable rights. Whenever any form of government becomes destructive of those ends, it's the right of the people to alter or abolish it. These are words from the Declaration of Independence. Recently, I had an opportunity to tour the Smithsonian's new African American History Museum, and it was profound in every way possible. You must go. But the experience started by descending 3 floors down into the belly of the museum, symbolically into the belly of the slave trading ships. In those really small, dimly lit spaces of the museum, there were giant artifacts of our slavery history in clear and present visibility. One thing that just cringed was the child-sized shackles. Moving onward, up another level, I entered into the lives of slaves in America. And it's fascinating because at that point in time, Black lives mattered. Alive, you were worth something. You could power the engine of our economy, but dead, you were worth nothing. Continuing to move onward, I was confronted by a statue of Thomas Jefferson. He was one of the co-authors of the Declaration of Independence, and he was surrounded by the names of 609 of the slaves that he owned, some of which he had fathered. Ironic. Hypocrisy. The journey continued onward, and what was fascinating about the next area we entered into was leading up to it, going through the 1800s, the 1900s, now into the mid-1900s, there was an installation that had kind of graphic advisory warnings. And in that area, I rediscovered a dark corner of our history that I had forgotten. In that dark corner, I was reminded of, "Hey, baby." That was the cat call, the alleged cat call, that resulted in the murder of 14-year-old Emmett Till in Mississippi in 1955. The storekeeper whose wife it was directed to went out with his brother-in-law, kidnapped him, and subsequently murdered him. His mother had his body in an open-faced casket so the world could see the unvarnished truth of racism. And that became the catalyst for the civil rights movement. That is where it all began. And after that, it was a ripple effect that continued onward. This experience with the museum, at this point, I was in tears. I had nothing left. I felt hopeless on where we were as a country. And then something happened. I entered the 1960s installation, and with it entered into the civil rights movement. I was surrounded by mementos of Black power. Black is beautiful. It was incredible. I can't even begin to explain the way my spirit was uplifted by the energy and the power in that space and in that installation at a moment in time when I had nothing left in me. It continued on into afros, into Black Panthers. You got to see where 200 plus years of systematically ripping apart people, tearing apart their families, taking every right away from them, and yet these people found a way to take back their power. And it was incredible. Then I saw on the wall a placard commemorating 2012. And that is a year that many things changed in my personal life. In 2012, I had 2 boys, and in the mornings we would get ready for school. It was a tizzy. It was a thunderstorm or a tornado in my bedroom. We would put the TV on. That was the ambient noise, and we'd kind of hear that in the background getting ready. And in 2012, that changed. That is when I turned the television off every morning as we were getting ready. Because that is when the questions began that I had no answers to. Questions that I still to this day have no answers to. Those questions were, why did he kill the boy? Is the man still out there? Is he in jail right now? And I had no answers I could give to my children. Because you see, in 2012, that became a critical milestone in where we are right now as a country. 2012 was the year that Trayvon Martin was murdered, 20 minutes from where we all sit right now, and he was murdered by George Zimmerman. The unvarnished truth of his murder is that he was walking while Black in a neighborhood that he was unfamiliar. That is what he deserved, apparently, and resulted in his murder. So continuing on into my world in 2012, here's my son Tyson, who at the time was 7 and loved wearing hoodies. Loved hoodies. We had 5 different colors of them. And after this happened, it was the first time ever as a mom where I'm like, son, please don't do that. Please don't wear that hoodie outside in Orlando. Because 20 minutes away, horror had occurred because this child was Black. Another story I want to share is Tamir Rice. Tamir Rice was in Cleveland, Ohio, playing with a fake gun, which was an airsoft rifle, at a park. And someone called 911, please show up, start shooting. Not tasing, shooting. He was 12 years old when he was killed for having a toy gun that didn't have the safety orange cap on it removed. This is my son Jackson. He'd shoot me if he was here right now. Literally. Jackson turned 12 last week, and Jackson loves playing outside, baseball, video games, loves playing in the neighborhood. For his birthday, Jackson wanted a birthday party at the Airsoft Rifle Combat Range. How about that? What am I supposed to do with that as a mother of a young black boy? Right now, this isn't even accurate. 230 has climbed to 234 unarmed black deaths in America just this year by police officers. Last year, there were 5 times as many unarmed African Americans murdered by police as there were white. And out of all that, only 2 were prosecuted so far, one of which gets to serve his sentence on weekends, conveniently. So you see, Trayvon Martin's murder was huge. That placard on the wall that day at the museum read that was the catalyst for Black Lives Matter. Because you see, today, our children, our black children apparently don't even matter as much. So I'm here as a white woman who's enjoyed the benefit of white privilege my entire life. I am a white mother with 2 black sons, and my white friends with their white sons do not have the same fear for my black boys that I do. They don't have those fears. And there's got to be something has to change at this point. Jackson's life is too important. Tyson's life is too important. Everyone's life is important. So I would say to you tonight, when you leave here, please strike up a conversation with a black person. Ask them about their black experience in America. They will guarantee you have a story to tell, and that should speak volumes. But take it a step further. Listen with empathy, not with reflex. Because the most important thing for all of us to understand is that the civil rights movement is not over. This is the 2nd chapter. Black Lives Matter is chapter number 2, and we need to consider it that way. Thank you.